Fox Sports.
We are Fox. We are Florida.
Gotham City, home of the much-improved Mets. Big hopes loom over the Marlins and Mets this season. Tonight, they collide. Can Miami release the bats on the Mets? Out of the shadows, the race begins. Citi Fields in Flushing. Mets and Marlins ready to go. How do you get here? 7 train. Make sure you got your tickets ready, and then you get them out, and then you come on in. It's a 4-game series, and it starts tonight. The Marlins and the Mets on this chilly Thursday night. Hi, everybody. Rich Waltz along with Tommy Hutton. Hot ball club are the Mets. They've won 4 in a row, and the Marlins showing signs of life in Atlanta.
Yeah, it was good to see some of the bats come around. We saw good swings from Giancarlo Stanton, Christian Yelich back in the lineup. He missed a couple of games in Atlanta, and D. Gordon has been setting it up the entire year so far.
Many on the train coming to the ballpark, opened the paper, wanted to see the pitching matchups. So, hey, we'll get it for you as well. What you got, Tommy Hutton?
Well, you don't need to get the newspaper. You don't need to get online. You have it right here. Here are the matchups. Dylan G. and Cozart tonight. Bartolo Colon, the 41-year-old, tomorrow night. And then DeGrom and Matt Harvey to finish it off on Sunday. Tom Kohler against him. Latos against DeGrom. Some good matchups. The only pitcher the Marlins miss in this series is the lefty, John Neese.
Let's focus on tonight. Let's focus on Jared Cozart right now.
Jared Cozart didn't get any runs his last time out. Pitched 6 solid innings against the Rays, and it was a 2-0 game, but he should have won the game. Jared Cozart, in 11 starts as a Marlin, is 4-5. However, his earned run average is 2.31. He's pitched a whole lot better than that record shows. A lot of fastballs. He'll get some ground balls. Not really a strikeout guy. We'll watch him tonight. Hope he can pick up a win against the Mets.
Okay, DeGrom, Harvey, Colon, those are big names. Heck, the Marlins have had trouble beating this guy, Dylan G.
They really have. Looking at his 6 starts against the Fish, he's 3-1, has a 2.84 ERA. He can throw around 90, but his changeup's his best pitch. He's a pretty good one.
The bats came alive in Atlanta for Miami. Christian Yelich back in the lineup. The Marlins try to stay in the swing and snap this Mets win streak. It's game 1. It's New York. It's Marlins and Mets. out for a last jog before the Marlins and the Mets start. Let's go down below. Jessica Blaylock. Jessica?
Thanks so much, Rich. After missing the past 2 games due to some tightness in his back, Christian Yelich will once again be in the starting lineup for the Marlins. He was able to play in Game 1 of that series against Atlanta, had that unbelievable catch. He said that the catch had nothing to do with his back issues. It's something that he had actually been dealing with for a few weeks, but he's had a few days off. He is well rested, and he says he is ready to go.
Nobody ever really wants to be out of the lineup or hurt, a little banged up. But, guys played well. We were able to win those 2 games, and, it's good to be back.
How are you feeling?
I feel good. I feel 100%. Went through all the stuff that I had to go through to make sure I was fine, and I'm excited to be back in there.
How excited are you to be back in there?
A lot. It's good to be back. Good to be back playing with the fellas, and go out and try and get a win tonight.
4 RBIs on the season for Christian Yelich. No home runs, but Adeiny Echeverria had one yesterday. Michael Morris had one yesterday. Maybe tonight it'll be Christian Yelich's night. Rich?
All right, thank you, Jessica. Bundle up, kids. It's in the 50s. We're in New York. Jared Cozart getting ready for the fish. Marlins and Mets. Need I say more? Marlins baseball on Fox Sports Florida is brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places. Marlins and Mets. Ready to go. D. Gordon, Christian Yelich, all lined up. Chan Lexus brings you the Marlins lineup. Gordon in the leadoff spot. Yelich hitting second. Giancarlo Stanton's in right field. Martin Prado's at third base. Michael Morris hit his 100th career homer yesterday. Marcelo Ozuna's at center. Back in there, JT Real Muto, the rookie, getting a start yesterday. Yesterday he was terrific. Had a couple of hits, scored a run as well. Adeiny Echeverria, home run on his birthday. Dylan G gets set to face the Miami Marlins.
Well, Dylan G, Rich, has had 47 consecutive starts, and believe it or not, it's the longest run in the major leagues of 5 innings or more. He's had success against the Marlins. We talked about that. He's 3-1 with a 2.84 ERA in his career against the Fish. And over the last 4 starts against the Marlins has not allowed a home run. As a matter of fact, the last Marlin to homer against Dylan G, Greg Dobbs.
The Marlins get G right out of the chute. As we noted, they've got Cologne, DeGrom, and Harvey to follow. Mets defensively, and they're absent their captain David Wright at third.
Well, we'll take a look at that defense. The veteran Michael Kadire is in left field. A Gold Glover, Juan Lagares, the center fielder. Curtis Granderson in right. Eric Campbell gets the duties at third base with David Wright on the disabled list. Wilmer Flores, the shortstop. Daniel Murphy. Lucas Duda is hot, as is Travis d'Arnaud, their catcher. So they've been swinging the bats pretty well.
D. Gordon had a terrific series in Atlanta. Christian Yelich joins him. Mike Redmond on the importance of the top of the order.
D. Gordon gives us a weapon that we haven't had in speed. That's your prototypical leadoff hitter, a guy that can really fly. And Yelly, I mean, I think you could hit Yelly anywhere in that lineup, and he's going to hit. So I do. I like having those two guys on base. I mean, they got a chance to run and to think of the pitches that G's going to have to get, with those two guys on base is pretty exciting, and he should have a chance to do a lot of damage.
Well, we saw a lot of that damage by D. Gordon in Atlanta. 4-game hitting streak. He's 8 for 16 over his last 4 games, and good to have Christian Yelich back.
Dylan G. misses away with a fastball. Pinch a penny bringing you the first pitch. Gordon, Yelich, Stanton, Marlins, Mets, first time 2015. With expectations on both sides of the diamond. That's a foul ball. Gordon's bat almost landing on it as he dropped it down. Ball and a strike. Eric Campbell, of course, at third base. David Wright on the disabled list with the hamstring injury. And Gordon testing him right away. Little tapper. G has it and gets to first in time. 1 out, and here is Yelich. He's missed a couple days with some back tightness. Marlins gave him Tuesday night off, and it just figured a noon game on Wednesday. If you're going to give him Tuesday night, you want to give him Wednesday. Make sure the back is 100%.
Yeah, he was pretty clear in telling everybody, too. It wasn't that play, that he'd had a few little issues with the back before that great catch he made in Atlanta.
Yelich in his career against Dylan G is 0 for 6. And you wonder, with the back injury that he was nursing, how much it has affected him in the opening week of the season. Lifts that one in the air, out of play. He was 0 for 4 in the first game of that Atlanta series, and just 1 for 4 on the Sunday finale against Tampa Bay.
Marlins trying to reverse their fortunes against the Mets this year. 8 and 11 against the Mets last year, and they were just 3 and 6 here at Citi Field.
Mets finished with a better record than the Marlins last year. Mets were 79 and 83. That actually was tied for second in the division with Atlanta. Both teams 79 and 83.
I think you saw in that last pitch, that's that good changeup that Dylan G has.
3-2. Yelich fouls it back. Yelich, ever since he stepped into the big leagues, has always been among the league leaders in number of pitches seen for plate appearance. He's seen 6 here.
You can see how G kind of mixes it up. He had 83 on the changeup, then came back with his fastball at 90.
He is every bit a pitcher, is G, and you combine that with a Bulldog competitor, and you've got a guy that has got himself in the big leagues after being a 21st round pick. there were a Marlin in the rotation I would compare G to, it would be Tom Kohler. Because Kohler, an 18th round pick out of Stony Brook.
And I think the other surprising thing is Dylan G may be surprised he's still a Met.
Oh, it's a great at bat by Yelich, and that one's going to sneak down the line, kick off the wall. Yelich, big turn, holds there. That little kick off the wall keeps Yelich at first base.
Nicely played by the veteran Michael Kadire down there in left field, because that could have been a whole lot of trouble had the ball gotten away. Great at bat by Christian Yelich. Here's the kick right to Kadire, who plays the carom perfectly, and Yelich, as he rounded first base, watched all of that. That ball could have kicked into that left field corner. Christian could have ended up at second or third.
Now Stanton, and he takes outside. Giancarlo has the mask on against a righty. We saw him in Atlanta on a couple of occasions against lefties. Go with a helmet that did not have a mask attached. Yelich is running on the pitch, take it outside, and the throw, he is in there. Well, I asked if there was any question about his back. He's answered it with a line drive hit and a stolen base. It counts 2-0 on Stanton right now.
Well, it was something that Yelich did a little bit more last year, maybe because he was hitting in the leadoff spot. Christian Yelich had 21 steals last year. With Gordon ahead of him and then Stanton behind him, it might be a little different story, but he has that base stealing ability.
Mets infield shifted to the left side for Stanton. And G pitches him outside. It's 3-0. Dylan G pitching to Big G. There's that Mets alignment. Juan Lagares plays a shallow center field. It's a strike. There is Martin Prado. If you saw Marlins live, you heard Craig and Preston talk about the new dimensions in this park in right field and right center. Stanton swings and misses. And G has come back to run the count full at 3-2.
Giancarlo with 16 career home runs against the Mets. Ball had some good movement, a good two-seamer by G.
Let's see if he comes back with that. And it's fouled back to the screen. Essentially, what they've done in this ballpark is shorten right center field. See, from the 370 sign out, the fence now comes in from the bullpen.
Kind of in there.
There's 380. Stanton pulls it foul, counts 3-2. Mets have won 4 in a row, sweeping away the Phillies. May of 2013, the last time they've won 5 in a row, and their starters have been dynamite during this streak. Stanton drives it right center field, hits it deep. Granderson back, looking up, and it's gone. That's over the old dimensions. Giancarlo Stanton with a 2-run shot, his first of the year. He's now the all-time leading home run hitter in Miami Marlins history, surpassing Dan Uggla with that blast to right field. Number 155.
155. You saw it here, and the beauty of it is that Giancarlo stayed back, had a really nice at bat, and took it the other way. When he gets locked in, he can hit him out of any place, any park. Doesn't matter if it's pulled or to right field. What is he getting? The silent treatment down there?
Yep. I think they all shook Yelich's hand. And they're ignoring Stanton. Now they break the ice.
That was hard. That was hard for Real Muto to do.
That's right. Look at Stan. Well, yesterday they serenaded Echeverria happy birthday, and tonight they give the silent treatment. First home run of the season for Stanton. And here is Prado.
Well, we had talked at the beginning of the game that the last Marlin home run against Dylan G was in 2011, and it was hit by Greg Dobbs.
That's a sharp breaking ball, and Prado goes down. G gets his first strikeout. And here is Michael Morse. Morse waited on a breaking ball from Cody Martin in Atlanta yesterday and blasted it up into the seats about 15 rows up. It's amazing the Marlins hit just one home run in their first 8 games, and they've hit 3 home runs in their last 9 2/3 innings.
Yeah, it's amazing how trends go. And remember the last start that Jared Cozart had against Tampa Bay. He got no run support. Tampa Bay beat the Marlins 2-0.
Morse got a breaking ball there, and he fouls it at the plate. Limited schedule in baseball tonight. Glad you're with us. Miami and New York, first of 4. Marlins won the last 2 in Atlanta, pushing their record up to 3-6. Mets, of course, off to such a great start. Sit the opposite at 6-3. Strike 3 call. G gets the corner. Morse goes down, but Giancarlo Stanton sends it out right center field. Number 155 all time in Marlins history. A 2-0 lead for Miami in New York. Let's meet the Mets. Jay Lexus brings you their starting lineup. Curtis Granderson off to a slow start. Travis d'Arnaud not. He's swinging it pretty well. Lucas Duda has been knocking him out of the park. Michael Kadires in left. Daniel Murphy at second base. Eric Campbell in for the injured David Wright. Juan Lagares is in center field. Wilmer Flores is the shortstop. And Dylan G hits ninth.
No, we talked a little bit about Jared Cozart, the 24-year-old who had really no support in his outing against Tampa Bay. 6 innings, gave up just 3 hits and 1 run. The Marlins went up against Chris Archer in that one.
Lots of fastballs from Cozart, and he misses up to Granderson, who is yet to homer, is yet to drive in a run, but he is taking his walks. He leads the National League in walks drawn. His on-base percentage is actually a little over 400.
Yeah, he's been on base 8 of the 9 games the Mets have played.
Cozart drops that in for a strike, and it's 1-2. Got him. Ladder high fastball. And Granderson goes down. Fox tracks.
Well, the one thing you see when you watch Jared Cozart, number one, he got a call there, but he'll take it, is that he's aggressive on the mound. He takes that aggressive attitude with him out there. You love the way he works to hitters.
Travis d'Arnaud now fouls back a 95-mile-an-hour fastball, and it's 0-1. D'Arnaud, the Mets' hope coming into his own. Last year, 22 doubles, 13 homers, slugged .416. Takes away.
You talked, Rich, about Granderson getting on base. D'Arnaud has had at least 1 RBI in 7 of 8 games.
One and two. D'Arnaud, a California kid. First round supplemental pick back with the Phillies. The Met fans know it took him a while to get to the big leagues, and 2 major trades to get to the Mets. That one fouled back. Roy Halladay going from the Blue Jays to the Phils. R.A. Dickey going from the Mets to the Blue Jays. Terry Collins and everybody, Sandy Alderson, hoping that d'Arnaud turns into that everyday catcher who can provide some pop. Struck him out. 2 called strike threes. Eric Cooper getting his Leslie Nielsen on behind home plate.
Yeah, a couple of strikeouts. There's the defense for the Marlins tonight. Christian Yelich. Good to have him back in the lineup. Ozuna and Giancarlo in the outfield. Martin Prado and Danny Echeverria. What a game he had on his birthday yesterday. Pete Gordon, Michael Morse, and JT Real Muto starting his 2nd consecutive game.
Lucas Duda, and he takes ball 1. Duda off to a good start, and that's a good sign for the Mets. They're going to certainly need Duda, Kadire, and everybody to replace David Wright while he's out.
He's a guy you play a little bit straight away in the outfield, but on the infield the big shift is on. Now it changes over with Prado going over to the right side, and Echeverria, the lone man, on the left side.
Towards the line, dropping, Yelich reaching, and he makes the catch. So Christian Yelich runs it down, and Jared Cozart, a very quiet first inning. breaking news. Tickets, sweepstakes, merchandise, and more. Sign up for free Marlins email or text alerts so you can receive year-round Marlins coverage, offers, discounts, and more. Wait for it. Oh, it's coming right to the camera. Marlins.com, the place to go. Marcell Ozuna against Dylan G to open the second. This is a matchup that has favored Ozuna. JT Realmuto, Adeiny Hechavarria will follow.
Two straight curveballs from Dylan G. Hard to believe that in Ozuna's 26 games against the Mets, he's never homered.
And he swings and misses. After giving up a 2-run homer to Giancarlo Stanton, Dylan G has 3 consecutive strikeouts.
Well, 2 curveballs and a fastball, and it didn't take long to get rid of Marcell Ozuna. How about the day that JT Realmuto had? I love the way he stretched this into 2 bases. He knew it all along once he left the batter's box. He stayed up the middle with his 2 base hits. He did a terrific job in handling Dan Herron, who had some real nice comments to say about the young catcher, too.
Mike Redmond going with the hot hand, as he called it. Realmuto getting the start here to open up this series.
All of a sudden, Dylan G's got the curveball going.
Tried to pick at the corner with a fastball. It's 1-2. See Realmuto choked way up on the bat here with 2 strikes.
Yeah, he's about an inch and a half off the handle.
Pulls a ground ball to third. Campbell just in time. Realmuto busting it down the line. Adeiny Hechavarria now another year older, and certainly he enjoyed his birthday yesterday in Atlanta.
I think you and I were both impressed the way he handled pitches that were on the inner half of the plate. That one was a breaking ball for the home run, but he also hit some fastballs where pitchers try to pitch him, and he stayed and used his hands really well.
Hechavarria takes a strike.
Almost like that home run was a wake-up call to Dylan G.
Yeah, it was. 7 for his last 11. Hechavarria takes away. Stan's homer, in case you just got here, was out to right field. Not quite right center, but to right field into the Mets bullpen. It would be well over any of the fences, whether they moved them or they originated there or not. It was a no-doubter. That's big boy territory over the bullpen roof there.
Stanton, 9th home run here at Citi Field. Well, we've seen some good stuff. Let's give you a scouting report quickly on Dylan G. He doesn't waste much time. No windup. He gets it, throws it. He has all 4 pitches. And yeah, that changeup, especially to the lefties, is his best pitch.
Here's a 2-2 pitch. There's that breaking ball, and Hechavarria pops it up. Murphy calls, Murphy catches, and the Marlins are done in the second. 2-0 Miami, up early in New York.
Thanks, Rich. Christian Yelich, that is, back in the lineup for the Marlins, but there are still a few players that are dealing with some injuries. Don Kelly and Jeff Mathis, they have both seen a hand specialist for those fractured fingers. The good news is neither guy will require surgery. It is just going to be a matter of time before they can return. No timetable for their return. Another guy that has no timetable for a return, that would be Henderson Alvarez. But a positive development, he is going to start playing catch as early as next week, and then he will start working his way back.
That is good news, Jessica. Thank you. Christian Yelich missing a couple of ball games. It was his base hit. He put himself on base. He scored easily. In fact, he could have walked home when Giancarlo Stanton blasted one into the Mets bullpen in right field. This is Michael Kadire. Daniel Murphy and Eric Campbell to follow. 0-2 pitch coming from Jared Kozart. It's a fastball that darts away. The Mets are certainly banking on Kadire, so to speak. 2 years, $21 million. And they hope that he puts up solid offensive numbers. It was an injury-filled year last year. That one fouled back. Hamstring and shoulder.
Yeah, only 49 games for Kadire last year. Year before, he won a batting title. And the one guy in the ballpark that knows him better than anybody is Mike Redmond. They were teammates for 5 years.
Back when Kadire was a Minnesota Twin. Tapper, it's going to be a tough play. Echeverria, quick release, and he got him. Nice play by Echeverria. There is one out. Marlins Fan Express is back, ready to bring you straight to the action at Marlins Park. To book this luxury motor coach for your group, 305-480-2523, or email groups@marlins.com.
Seen a few Marlins caps here at Citi Field tonight.
What alien has taken over and inhabited Daniel Murphy's body? Because this can't be Daniel Murphy. His batting average is way too low. I don't remember ever seeing Murphy hitting below 280 in his run here in New York. This is his 7th year in the big leagues.
Well, I'll give you a little explanation. Remember, toward the end of spring training, he had a hamstring pull. There was some question whether he would even be able to make the opening day roster. He did, but his timing and everything just wasn't there, and he's still trying to find it.
Terry Collins, Bob Guerin, his bench coach, former skipper in Oakland. That's a strike. Murphy doesn't like it. They've been together 5 years, Guerin and Collins. Here's a look, and you know what? He has reason to be upset. Kozart's been able to get a few just off that outer half. Echeverria was playing over the middle, and Murphy's going to beat it. Echeverria as well, when he fielded it, looked like he's trying to slide and pop up, and he never really got his footing.
Yeah, he was trying to one-hop it too, but then never really got it there. And boy, I guarantee Terry Collins was holding his breath right there when Daniel Murphy reaches with that leg. As a young player, for young kids watching, you don't want to do that. Murphy got the base hit, but I guarantee you that put a little scare in Terry Collins.
Infield hit for Murphy. Here's Eric Campbell now. And Campbell takes a strike. The Mets already lost David Wright with a hamstring. Collins, who in his 4 previous years has had to make do with rosters that oftentimes aren't real complete. Up the middle, Etch has it, flips, turned by Gordon is in time. Nicely done, 6-4-3, Echeverria to D. Gordon to Michael Morse. And Cozart is out of the second. Miami still up 2-0. Toyota trend rolls around. Tom Goodwin in there right now. With or without David Wright. Stealing David Wright's thunder here. Mets missed him last year. You see without, their win percentage better with. Runs per game up as well. Cozart getting the at bat. Dylan G drops in a strike. Counts 0-2. Top of the order, D. Gordon, and then Christian Yelich after Cozart.
Well, with David Wright in that Mets lineup, you hear the term, it lengthens their lineup. It really changes things with him hitting in the middle.
Swing and a miss. Cozart down. And so an out here in the third, and the second time through for Gordon and Yelich. Gordon tapped back to the mound. Yelich had a terrific at bat, battling, and then lining one to left for a hit. Then Stanton blew up and drove it out of here to right field.
I tell you, when you talk to D. Gordon, talking to him in the clubhouse, he lights up when you start talking about his brother Nick, younger brother in the Twins organization, off to a really good start. 6 games, he's hitting .417, has a couple of triples and 8 RBIs.
One of the differences between D and Nick, D was a basketball player growing up and into high school, and didn't really start playing baseball until his junior year. Murphy makes the play. Dylan G has restored order, and here is Yelich again.
Yeah, D. Gordon, 27 years old. Nick, just 19.
Yelich takes a strike, singled inside the line at third. The ball took a kick off the wall to Michael Kadire, who played it expertly, like he's been playing this ballpark all his life. And he held Yelich to a single. Speared by Duda. Flips to G. And in time to get Yelich. Well, since the Stanton homer, Dylan G has retired 8 in a row. Hey, cut that out. Marlins Park offers a variety of suites located behind home plate and along the first baseline that can be rented for just one game. Suites accommodate groups from 16 to 70 guests, offering upscale contemporary furnishings featuring great food and beverage options. 1-877 Marlins. Go to marlins.com/groups. Bottom 3, Juan Lagares. His first at bat. Jared Cozart has faced the minimum through 2. Giving up a single to Daniel Murphy. And then got Eric Campbell to bounce into an inning-ending double play. Lagares in center field. Wilmer Flores. And then Dylan G.
We're talking about D. Gordon's brother, Jared Cozart. As a younger brother, was a 3rd-round draft pick of the Red Sox last year.
.92 with some sink on it. It's 3-1. Lagares, of course, known more for his glove. Won a Gold Glove last year and a Fielding Bible Award. And the Mets are hopeful that the bat comes around. And this is 3rd year in the big leagues. Leadoff walk. Here comes Flores.
And Lagares, and with Flores up there, it's a possibility. Lagares will run. He had 13 stolen bases, 13 out of 17 last year. It's another guy, Wilmer Flores, the Mets are hoping to get jump started.
Not a big lead at all at first base. Cozart's just rearing back and going right after Wilmer Flores.
Brad Penny tried that last September. Wilmer Flores had that 2-homer game. It's 6 RBIs against the Marlins. At the time, Brad Penny wasn't throwing 95, though.
Flores had 2 6 RBI games last year. One at the Marlins' expense, as you pointed out. 0-2. He got him. Stayed at 95, and that was enough to get it by Flores for 3 strikes. Here's Dylan G. We'll see if he's bunting, trying to set up Granderson.
The thing that Cozart has to be careful of at times, and he admitted it. Sometimes he will go with the fastball too much and not show the hitters just a little something off speed. He has a changeup. He rarely throws it, and then he will use his curveball.
G bunts and bunts it foul. Cozart calls that getting fastball happy. And he admitted in his last start that he was fastball happy. That one popped, and Morse had come in so far he was unable to adjust his pattern and get there.
I would imagine, given the fact that Dylan G's a career 109 hitter, that he'd probably still be bunting on an 0-2 pitch.
Cozart on to first in time. And so G gets the bunt down. Granderson has a chance to give the Mets their first run of the night. National League East is an odd place right now. All 5 teams have got a 6 and a 3 involved in their record. Atlanta and the Mets are 6 and 3. Marlins, Nationals, Phillies are all 3 and 6.
And the Nationals are in Philadelphia tonight. 1-1 tie in the top of the 4th. Cole Hamels and Doug Fister.
Phillies have dropped 4 in a row. A 1 fouled at the plate. Remember, Granderson called out on strikes in the first. So first time through, Jared Cozart has got 3 strikeouts and a walk.
Here's the irony of Curtis Granderson as JT Real Muto chats things over with Jared Cozart. The irony of, there's a guy 1 year hit 41 home runs with the Yankees, hit 20 last year. He's one of the guys that the Mets were thinking about, along with Lucas Duda, in the bringing in the fences a little bit in right center. The irony is, last 4 hits have been to left field, and he doesn't have a home run this year.
Oh, and 2. It's up.
Kind of overthrew that fastball.
Catcher Travis d'Arnaud is on deck. Certainly the Mets and their fan base energized by their quick start, which is great to see. You come to town, a lot of people are talking about not only the Mets, but talking about this series.
And as Craig pointed out on Marlins Live, a little more back page attention to the Mets than the Yankees.
Here's a 2-2, and it's in, which is good unless it's a tabloid, not a sports bet.
I think the last couple of pitches, Cozart has tried his changeup. He's missed with it, but give him credit to show Granderson something else.
Pull the fastball to second, Gordon to first. Jared Cozart strands another runner. 3 innings have passed. 2-0 Marlins. Giancarlo Stanton's 2-run homer, the difference in this one. up the road. Giancarlo Stanton taking a strike. Rich Waltz, Tommy Hutton, Jessica Blaylock, Giancarlo Stanton fouls it back and out of play. Craig Minervini and Preston Wilson in our Fox Sports Florida studios tonight, waxing poetic about their childhood here in Flushing. Strike three call. Dylan G gets Stanton, who kind of looks back to Eric Cooper.
Fifth strikeout for Dylan G. It's been a generous strike zone for both pitchers. We have talked about it with Jared Cozart. That is not a strike, but he's called a couple of those that Cozart's gotten. But that time Dylan G went with nothing but fastballs to Stanton.
It was a steady diet of curveballs to Martin Prado in his first at bat. Prado has always had the hyperactive bat in the batter's box. Slices it down the right field line. Foul. Always waving it back and forth or up and down. No real set motion.
Yeah, but then if you notice, just as the pitch starts to come, he gets it set.
Ball and 2 strikes to Martin Prado.
Well, what an addition he has been, not only just as a solid player, but his respect around the clubhouse and his respect around the league.
That one into the seats. I was asked today what kind of guy is Martin Prado, and the thing that came to mind was yesterday after the game, Danny Echeverria just had the big day, and Jessica Blaylock was getting ready to interview Echeverria, and the interpreter was not around. Prado to left field, that's hit pretty well. Kadire goes back, it is gone, and Prado hits it out. It's 3-0 Miami. Martin Prado, his first as a Marlin, and that was way up there.
You mentioned it, Rich, the steady diet of curveballs he saw the first AB. He fouled off numerous fastballs, but guess what he saw for the home run? He'd seen so many his first at bat that he was all over the Dylan G breaking ball. And it backed up and stayed middle of the plate, and Martin Prado hammered it.
Morse now swings and misses. The interpreter that we use for Echeverria was not around, and Prado, without any prompting, just hopped next to him and said, "Let's go, I'll be the interpreter." How many starting third basemen would do that for a teammate? Morse to right. Granderson is there, and he makes the catch. 2 down.
Well, we saw Martin Prado hit his first home run as a Marlin. Michael Morse hit his first yesterday. To gain respect, you have to give respect, and that's what Prado's done his whole career.
Now Ozuna strikeout back in the second.
Been frustrating so far for Marcell Ozuna. Remember last time up he took a couple of breaking balls and then swung and missed at a fastball. In the hole again, 0-2. Sees the curveball. Boy, frustrating tonight for Ozuna.
He's searching for it.
Yeah.
The Mets, or rather the fans in deep left center, are searching for this. Martin Prado solo shot, 3-0 Miami. dealers. Visit your South Florida Chevy dealers today. By Checkers. Get Checkers authentic Philly cheesesteak or try the new meatball sub. Pick yours, 2 for $5. And by Subaru of Pembroke Pines. Price, service, selection. You're gonna love us. Citi Field in Flushing. First pitch swing. Travis d'Arnaud hits it in the air. Real Muto tosses the mask and then lunges and makes the catch. Well, Michael Morse watches with amusement.
That was exciting, a little more exciting than Real Muto wanted. And it's a ball that I'm sure Michael Morse will tell him when they go in the dugout, I've got to make that play. He's got to take charge there. It's a much easier play for the first baseman. But give credit to the young catcher. He hangs in there and gets it just in the webbing.
It's a good illustration of how athletic Real Muto is. Former high school quarterback, and not just a high school quarterback, a 5A state champion in the football mad state of Oklahoma. Lucas Duda is up. Duda flied to left his first time up.
Got a homework assignment, a 1-1 count, and Echeverria and Prado shift.
It's part of that no huddle defense. Huh?
Yeah, it's the speed up offense, or defense in this case.
Here's a 1-1. And it's up. And Duda crosses up the shift. Pops one off the end of the bat. Echeverria hustles. And sliding in is Duda for the bloop double.
Well, this is going to be frustrating for Jared Cozart. He made a good pitch. It was a changeup. And actually, he's probably thrown more changeups in this game already than the entire game against Tampa Bay. A good pitch. Duda squibs it off the end of the bat because he was out front, and ends up with a 2-base hit.
It's Echeverria who got there first. Michael Kadire now. 3-0 Miami on top. A pair of home runs have accounted for all 3 Miami runs. Giancarlo Stanton's first. Martin Prado's first. Stanton's a 2-run homer. Kadire fouls it back. This guy has been a professional hitter his entire career. He's 36, Chesapeake, Virginia, one of the first guys to really start that run of really good players from that area. Same place as David Wright, just 4 years older than Wright. And I would expect that Wright had a little something to do with Kadire arriving here.
Well, I read somewhere when David Wright was growing up, only being 4 years younger, he wanted to be like Michael Kadire.
Who wouldn't want to be like Mike? 0-2. Struck him out. Cozart climbs the ladder, strikes out Kadire. 2 outs here in the 4th. This copyrighted telecast presented by the authority of the Marlins may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. Accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Miami Marlins. Murphy sprayed a ball in the hole at short and beat it out for an infield hit. Pride of Jacksonville. Jacksonville University.
You know, he's such a good line drive hitter. He'll give you 9 or 10 home runs, but lots of doubles. Over the last 5 years, he's averaged 36 doubles a year.
He is in the last year of arbitration, so the Mets have a decision to make about Daniel Murphy. That one Lifted foul into the seats.
Seems that way every year. It seems every year the Mets are going to do something with Daniel Murphy, and every year he plays second base and hits about 290.
And last year, for the first time, he made the All-Star team. He is a career 290 hitter. Career slugging percentage at .419. Eric Campbell's on deck.
The pitcher doesn't really have to give in here to Murphy. Boy, that fastball had some movement.
It ran right under the hands of Murphy.
Cut fastballs usually aren't 94 miles an hour, but that ball really moved. Unless you're Mariano Rivera.
Of course, Rivera retiring 2 years ago. That one fouled. And Murphy stays alive. Bottom 4. Temperatures have dipped into the mid-50s. Possibility of some rain tomorrow. It's a 4-game series. Opening here on a Thursday night in Flushing. 3-2 coming. Cozart has it, and he flips to first. 4 neat, tidy innings for Jared Cozart. 2 home runs for Miami, providing a 3-0 lead. You tune into Marlins Live pre-game show before tomorrow night. Craig and Preston in the studio. Marlins continue to swing the bats well. Couple homers in this one. David Phelps, Bartolo Colon, your South Florida Honda dealers. Get you ready. JT Realmuto, second at bat. Realmuto bounced to third back in the second.
Yeah, even before 2 strikes. Notice how Realmuto is choked up just a little bit. Might go up a little bit more with 2 strikes, but he's off that handle even early in the count.
Over the mound, and with his speed, he's got a shot, and safe. He beat it. Bang, bang. The Mets certainly will take a look at that in the video room. Terry Collins has yet to emerge. He doesn't have to this year, but he is looking back at the telephone. Here's our first look.
Boy, I think he might be out. It's really close. A terrific effort by Murphy at second.
Back of glove. It's in there.
Yeah, it's in there just before the foot gets on the bag. Great effort on both ends, on Real Muto's and on Daniel Murphy's.
Well, this is a little bit of a. I don't remember the umpires converging on third base, the third base well for this. Normally it's behind home plate. Maybe they've moved it. Maybe when they moved the wall in, they moved the umpires.
They moved a lot of things here, I guess, Rich.
Chrysler bringing you this replay challenge. Safe at first, the call on the field, and it looks like he was out.
And you have a feeling, unfortunately for JT, that it'll be overturned.
Fans just saw it in super slow-mo, and you can hear them react.
Yeah, and you know what? JT, Real Muto, and Perry Hill over at first base just saw it too. But I think the key, and it was one of the first things we learned with the replay system, is that the ball has to be in the back of the glove, which it appears it is. It's close. It's real close.
It is real close.
Yo, that shot. It's a lot closer than it looked before.
And that's why it's taking so long. You could see when he's got his weight on his foot, it indents the bag, but that may not be when the foot first hits the bag. Let's see what they do. He's out. No argument from Real Muto.
Yeah, I kind of think in the back of his mind when they were looking up at the big scoreboard, a beautiful scoreboard here at Citi Field, by the way, that he knew it.
So Real Muto is out.
That took a little longer than the Yelich catch in Atlanta.
Yeah, which was instant. Here's Echeverria. Pushes a bunt, first base side. It's flipped. G. Got him. Echeverria dove, a head first dive. But the Mets get the out at first base.
Well, two outstanding defensive plays by the Mets to get a couple of outs. One by Murphy, and this one a combined effort. Duda to G. Duda looks a lot more comfortable over there than he did in left field, doesn't he?
Yeah. He was a fish out of water, so to speak. Cozart here, 2 outs in the 5th. Ball and a strike. G gave up a 2-run homer to Stanton in the 1st. And a solo shot to Martin Prado in the 4th. Both of them were healthy homers and no doubters. Down goes Cozart. Halfway through, 3-0 Miami. And our Geico Marlins moment. This date in Mets history. Kevin Elster sets the National League record for consecutive errorless games for a shortstop at 69. I don't know that people would equate Kevin Elster with a streak like that, but
yeah, slick fielder.
69. Bud Harrelson. Take Mets shortstops for 200, please.
Many would maybe guess Ray Ordonez.
Ray Ordonez won, what, 3 Gold Gloves?
Yeah. But not Kevin Elster.
That was one of the best fielding infields ever, right? Olerud at first.
Was it third? Alfonso?
I believe so. Campbell into left field, and the former Boston College Eagle has got himself a hit. Jared Cozart has been able to manage a walk and a pair of hits so far. Now he's got the bottom of third of the order here. Juan Lagares, Wilmer Flores, and Dylan G. Wasn't it Robin Ventura at third base, right?
Might have been Ventura then in the Ordonez years. This is when we need our Met insider to chime in. You know, that one actually caught a bit of the strike zone.
Center field, and Mets have back-to-back hits. Ozuna picks it up. And so Campbell and Lagares, and here comes Wilmer Flores. And then you've got Dylan G, the pitcher. Next 2 games brought to you by BMW. David Phelps, Bartolo Colon, 6:30 for Marlins Live. Matt Latos, Jacob deGrom. On Saturday, 6:30, 7:10 first pitch. Next 2 games presented by BMW. So the Mets have something going. They also have their bullpen up so that they're afforded the opportunity to pinch hit for Dylan G. To left, Wilmer Flores has hit it out and tied this game. What is it about Wilmer Flores and the Marlins?
Well, all of a sudden, the Mets getting a huge inning from the bottom part of their lineup. Back-to-back singles by Campbell, then Lagares. And Lagares and Flores have somewhat struggled at the beginning of the year. First homer of the year for Flores. Remember, we told you he had a 2-homer game against the Marlins last September.
And because of that, the Mets don't have to hit for Dylan G. They were all set to pinch hit for Dylan G. Flores ties it, and here is G.
Boy, that was a short, quick swing by Flores.
Cozart misses away, and it's 2-2. Well, right now, Jared Cozart's got to compose himself. He's lost the lead, and he can't lose everything else because of that. Here's the 2-2.
Well, he doesn't want to lose. Gee, he doesn't. This is where, at times, he can get into a little trouble. The fastball, after a time or two around the order, the Met hitters will start to catch up to. He has, I think, used the changeup pretty well tonight. He's thrown it a little bit. And I think second, third time around, he has to go to those other pitches to show them the other stuff he has.
Cozart misses up with a fastball to Curtis Granderson, who was struck out and bounced out. Ozuna is there, and he makes the catch. And so Cozart has a pair of outs after the 3-run homer. Marlins on social media, several ways to connect. Go to marlins.com/connect. Full roster of Marlin players on Twitter. All the official Marlin accounts on Instagram, Twitter, and more. Way to follow the Marlins on social media. Now d'Arnaud is struck out, popped out. We're talking about the great Mets infield defensively with Olerud, John Olerud at first. Carlos Baerga at second. Edgardo Alfonso in the first 2 years of Olerud's tenure was at third. Robin Ventura at third, and Alfonso moved over to second a little later on. Tapper, D. Gordon on to first in time. The Mets tie this game in a surprising fashion. Wilmer Flores with a 3-run homer. Holy smokes, Wilmer Flores.
D. Gordon heading to the plate for the Marlins. Earlier in the broadcast, we mentioned that D actually started his athletic career as a basketball player. He didn't start playing baseball until his junior year of high school, and he said that in the beginning that actually was tough for him to make that transition. Actually hampered him a little bit too when he got to the big leagues, but now he looks at it as a help. He said in particular with his overall athleticism and helping him get a jump off the base.
Thank you, Jessica. And that's odd, too, in that his father, of course, a great major leaguer, Tom Gordon, As Tommy pointed out, his younger brother, a first-round pick of the Minnesota Twins. But you know what? Baseball is happy to have it. And that's one of the reasons the Marlins feel that Gordon is somewhat of a late bloomer in baseball skills. Drops it foul. He had a tough time in the first few years in the big leagues with the Dodgers, trying to get that everyday job in the infield.
It's almost as if at 27 he's just starting to grow.
1-2 pitch. And Gordon flips it foul. Gordon, Yelich, Stanton. Marlins got 2 in the first on a 2-run Stanton homer. Martin Prado solo homer in the 4th. And then Wilmer Flores ties it up with a 3-run homer. Little tapper, first base side. Gordon racing, and he beat it. D. Gordon, an infield hit.
Not going to be a replay there. Earlier in the AB, he tried to drop down a bunt. That time he just had the swing, the old swinging bunt, and it was in a perfect spot. Nobody's going to get D. Gordon on that. That's why it's so important for him just to make contact.
And now Yelich. Here's the irony of tonight's ball game. It's 3-3. There have been 3 home runs hit in what everyone considers a tough place to hit them. Gordon away from first. Big lead. He's chased back. So much so that the Mets have adjusted the dimensions twice in this ballpark to coax more home runs, preferably for them, out of the home team. Well, all 3 home runs would have been out of the original dimensions at Citi Field. Long wait by G. Yelich takes outside.
It's a mental thing, Rich.
Both Prado and Flores homers up there above the Party City deck. And then Stanton's, as we get over to right field, plunked right down into the Mets bullpen. You can see the Mets have a right-hander warming up. Gordon running, good jump, and the throw is out. Darno with some help from Flores on the sweep tag.
Christian Yelich tried to just take this pitch, screen Darno, but it was a fastball up, and a couple of times that D. Gordon's been thrown out, the catcher has gotten a perfect pitch, and yeah, he got some help from Flores, and just like that, 2 outs.
And importantly for Dylan G, I'm sure he feels he gets to face Stanton with nobody on base and first base open.
Giancarlo, by the way, with his home run earlier in the game, has had 11 at-bats against Dylan G, and he's 2 for 11. Both are home runs.
Ball and a strike to Stanton. Rafael Montero in the Mets bullpen.
The Mets going with a loaded bullpen. They have just 4 men, extra men, so they have an extra pitcher in their bullpen.
Two balls, 2 strikes. It comes in, and the count is full to Giancarlo Stanton.
That's really interesting because we've seen the Rays, we saw the Braves, everybody pounded Stanton in. That's probably the first pitch G's gone in on him with.
Three-two coming. Breaking ball. No swing. Stanton's on his way down to first. And that brings up Martin Prado. Now Prado homered after striking out the first. He homered in the fourth. He got a breaking ball and straightened it out way up into the seats in left center.
Yeah, he made the adjustment. He got a mistake breaking ball, but he still adjusted to it really well. Dylan G, the pitcher, remember a couple of years ago, had that real scare. Had a clot in his arteries. His fingers became numb. Very serious.
Gets a strike and it's 1-1. Last year he spent a couple months on the DL with a lat strain. That one is crunched to left, and cutting it off is Kadire. That's a great play by Kadire. I know it wasn't spectacular, but by getting there and stabbing the short hop, he prevents a run. Stanton would have scored had the ball scooted by.
Tell you what, this one of the harder singles you're going to see, because this ball could have skipped by, and you're right, Kadire with a real nice play. Giancarlo easily. He has that play in front of him. He knows he's going to get to third, but he would have scored if that ball had gotten by Kadire.
Dan Warthen, the longtime pitching coach for the Mets, arrives. Miami has a couple of hits and a walk, but nothing to show for the inning, thanks to the Travis d'Arnaud throw down to second to catch D. Gordon stealing. Michael Morse, the hitter right now. University of Texas, Arlington. Not a baseball hotbed, at least at first glance, but when you dig a little deeper, they've been well represented in the big leagues. John Lackey, who just had a nice start.
Last night, he had a terrific game. Or was that today? That was today.
That was today. Hunter Pence. Dylan G. To Michael Morse. Runs in. Morse called out on strikes in the first. Fly to right in the fourth. Almost clipped him. Not a huge shift for Morse. We've seen some teams bring three infielders over to the left side. (3-0).
Not sure what Dan Warthen said to Dylan G, but he hasn't been able to throw a strike to Morse. He's handled Ozuna really well, who's on deck.
Morse, his first home run as a Marlin yesterday, is 100th in his career.
Showing some good changeups. We talked about his changeup being his best pitch. A lot of guys don't use it. Righties don't use it to right-handed hitters, lefties to lefties. But Dylan G has used it a lot here in this at bat to Michael Morse.
Prado will be on the move from first. Stanton at third. 3-2 to Morse. It's up and in. And here comes Ozuna. Now will G face Ozuna?
I think he will. No, he won't. I thought maybe Warthen said, you know what, even if it loads the bases, don't worry about it because you've handled Ozuna. That wasn't the case because here comes Terry Collins, and that's all for Dylan G.
Collins may have sensed that G's walked two of the last three. So he'll exit. Bags are loaded. 2 out in the sixth. Marcell Ozuna may feel pretty good about this. Wes Kendall called to the bullpen. Or West Coast. In the hands of the Mets bullpen. First out of that bullpen, Rafael Montero.
You talked, Rich, about the few walks. The Met pitchers overall coming into this game had walked only 17. You got guys like Matt Harvey, just 1 walk. Jacob deGrom, just 3. Bartolo Colon, just 1 walk.
Ozuna has been searching the last 3 games. And Montero misses outside. He has struck out twice, swinging and looking in this one. 2 grand slams in his career. Bags are filled with Marlins. Stanton at third, Prado at second, Morse away from first. Montero catches the corner.
He's got a good slider. We've seen fastballs and sliders when he was warming up. But you're right about Ozuna. The way G pitched him, doesn't matter who comes in. Whoever comes in, you're going to like a little better.
The 1-1. And it's way out.
Dylan G does continue his streak, though. 48 consecutive starts now, 5 or more innings.
0 for his last 10 with 7 strikeouts is Ozuna. And right now he's looking at fastballs over the plate and is unable to pull the trigger.
Yeah, he's in that guessing mode where he's not guessing right. But now with 2 strikes, he just has to be ready.
Two. That's not a bad sign. Pitch on the outside part, he fouls it straight back.
It was actually a pretty good pitch, but it was a good swing. He fouled it back, but it had a good approach. And look at that, perfect pitch.
Yeah, that's a pitch that you get rung up on because it's at the knees and just on the black. Another 2-2 coming. Bags loaded, 2 outs. Jam shot. And it stays at 2-2. I don't know if you can come out of your slump in one at bat like this after watching 2 fastballs for strikes. But at the very least, Ozuna has made contact on the next 2 pitches.
I think you can sometime.
Ground ball just foul, and that would have
And I'll tell you what, you can if sometimes a little squibber like that is fair for a base hit.
That would have scored at least 2. Morse is the trail runner at first. He probably would have had a hard time scoring.
But Lucas Duda wasn't going to get to it, but it was just foul.
Still 2-2. Still loaded. 2 down. In the dirt, and Ozuna is still alive.
Boy, good job. He's having a really nice at bat. You'd love to see it end on something real positive.
Runners will be on the move. Stanton from third, Prado from second, Morse from first. And it's in, and Ozuna draws a walk. How about that? A slap in the back from Stanton, and Miami reclaims the lead. Maybe that at bat does the trick for Ozuna.
How many times have you and I talked about that? Even though an at bat maybe doesn't translate into a base hit, just by seeing the number of pitches, fouling off some tough pitches, and drawing the walk, sometimes that gets you turned around.
It also puts JT Realmuto at the plate. Bases loaded. Realmuto has bounced out twice, and he takes away. Realmuto, on the other hand, is a very patient hitter. We talked about his numbers last year in Jacksonville. His on-base percentage .369 with a .299 batting average. He walked yesterday and had 2 hits. Montero throws a strike.
Well, when you haven't seen somebody, I'm sure all eyes are on Montero. And as you watch him, you see fastballs and sliders. Good take.
The impressive thing about Realmuto, having watched him at the end of last year and just a game yesterday, there's no real panic in this guy. He doesn't look like someone who's just stepping into the big leagues and getting his first taste of it. It's a called strike. Now it's 2-2.
Wow. Now he's got to be in protect mode.
Two coming. High fastball, and he fouls it back. Dylan G for 5 2/3. Rafael Montero out of the pen. Walked Marcell Ozuna with the bags loaded. Jared Cozart all smiles now. Two. Realmuto to right. Back goes Granderson at the track, and he got it. Wow. The end of his glove, the end of the track. He slams into the wall and holds it. And the Marlins will have to be satisfied with just the 1 run. Watch when he hits the wall, and watch the ball here on Rand Eye Vision Cam.
First of all, as he tracks it, he looks down to see where the track is. Gets there, the ball almost comes out as he bangs in. He gets it at the top and the tip and the webbing, and it almost pops out.
Keep your eye on the ball. randeye.com/lacing. Now the trick there too is that ball didn't have to drop and hit the warning track. If it rolls and just hits the wall. Liner to right and fair and into the corner, and Lucas Duda is off and running. Stan will pick it up. Duda to second, and he'll stop there with a double.
A little more conventional double by Lucas Duda. Remember in the 4th inning he kind of squibbed and blooped one off the end of the bat down the left field line. This one, it was off speed, curveball, and Lucas Duda is off to a hot start. Came into the game hitting .353, and he's got a couple of hits tonight.
There's nobody throwing in Miami's bullpen yet, but the way Jared Cozart pitched in the 5th and the way the 6th is open, you would expect someone to be up quickly. Here's Kadire. Swing and a miss and a fastball. So Lucas Duda has a pair of doubles. One down the right field line, the other down the left field line. AJ Ramos is up, and he is getting ready as fast as he can.
See Kadire, boy, he's a smart hitter, veteran hitter. He's trying to take the ball the other way. Obviously he'd like to drive in a run, but if he hits a ground ball, he knows he'll get Duda over the third base with one out at that time. Nobody out now. Mike Redmond told us before the game, because of the next 2 starts, David Phelps tomorrow night has pitched just an inning. You don't expect to get more than 5 from Phelps. Hopefully you do. Matt Latos goes the next night. You're not sure how far Latos is going to take you into a game. You hope it goes deep. So he has to make sure his bullpen and think about that in the game tonight.
Duda's at second. Kadire into center field. That's a base hit. Here comes Duda coming to the plate. Ozuna airmails a throw. And Kadire gets to second. Marcell Ozuna, for whatever reason, went after Lucas Duda.
Well, you see how he keeps his hands. He's trying to hit the ball the other way. He ends up going up the middle, getting the RBI, and for whatever reason, not only is it a bad throw, it allows a go-ahead run to get into scoring position. And Ozuna knows it.
Here's Daniel Murphy now, and he'll try to do exactly what Kadire did and put a ball in play on the ground on the right side, and he does it. And the Mets are executing here right to tie the game, and 90 feet away, a chance to take the lead in the game.
Yeah, you just saw 2 veteran hitters in Kadire and Daniel Murphy do their job, give themselves up. In Kadire's case, he ended up with a base hit. Daniel Murphy with the ground ball moved the runner over to third.
Mike Redmond coming out, and so Jared Cozart, who gave up the lead in the 5th with a 3-run homer, gives up the lead here in the 6th. AJ Ramos is on his way in. West Kendall Toyota called to the bullpen. Every Friday is now a Marlins Flashback Friday, brought to you by Jeep. Tune in this Friday and post the best vintage Marlins using the hashtag #FlashbackMarlins. We'll select the best photo and feature in it. Put it in the post-game show. A.J. Ramos. Eric Campbell, infield in. Strike one.
Of course, Eric Campbell, before being called up when David Wright went on the disabled list, was in AAA Las Vegas. Now, I know Las Vegas is a good place to hit, but in his first 6 games, he was 11 for 20, batting over 500 with a couple of home runs.
Pop-up might be playable. Morris and Real Muto. No one's at the plate, and no one can make the catch. And the Marlins dashed in. D. Gordon came all the way in from second to cover home plate. 3 men converged, and neither could get there.
Long way for both guys to go. Another terrific effort by Real Muto.
Michael Kadire at third. Infield still in. Ooh. Ramos came down in front of the mound. Thought maybe he had it. No. Real Muto was set up out. He hit the glove, but it was out. Two and two. Real Muto crept back in. Ramos missed in. Juan Lagares is on deck. That breaking ball is popped up. Morse giving chase. And that's out of reach. The Marlins have had 2 balls that have sent them scurrying to the wall. That one just over the wall.
Tell you what, Michael Morse getting his work in. He's gone back. He's gone over toward the dugout. Look at D. Gordon has to get down in his slide just to put the brakes on.
Infield still in. Campbell singled in the 5th. Bounced into a double play in the 2nd. Another 3-2 from A.J. Ramos. Like a changeup.
A.J., when he's on, sometimes he feels he has command of the curveball or the changeup as much as the fastball, if not better.
Another 3-2. Jammed it, fly ball. Did he get enough? It looks like he did. Yelich makes the catch, tagging Kadire, and he will score. And the Mets are on top. 2 key at bats after the due to double. Kadire pushing it to the right side and getting a hit. Murphy moving the runner up.
Pretty good pitch. You give Campbell credit because A.J. ran that mid-90s fastball in on his hands, but he got it deep enough for the sac fly. So you make a decent pitch, pretty good pitch by A.J., but good swing by Eric Campbell.
So a lot of little things have added up for the 2 runs for the Mets in the bottom of the 6th.
Yeah, this whole inning for the Mets.
And of course, one of those, Marcell Ozuna's overthrow, trying to get Lucas Duda at the plate. Juan Lagares swings and misses.
Well, I put a man in scoring position. It set up the situation for Murphy to pull the ball. It takes you out of a double play situation.
Tapper to third. Prado backs up across the diamond. And the inning is over. But the lead is lost. And the Mets are on top 5-4. Well, the Marlins used the long ball early. The Mets got a 3-run homer to tie it. And now, along with Tommy Hutton, Jessica Blaylock, it's 5-4. Mets on top. 7 hits for the Mets, 5 for Miami. Neither starter left in this game. Up to the bullpens from here on out. Rafael Montero finished the 6th. Danny Echeverria, pitcher spot. Ichiro's on deck, and then D. Gordon. Echeverria fouls it off. It's 0-2. T-Mobile game changer. Danny Echeverria in his series in Atlanta, 7 for 11, homering on his 26th birthday. 3 hits and a homer. 0-2. It stays at 0-2. Marlins had opportunities in that 6th inning. Sam Dyson gets ready. JT Realmuto hitting a ball to the warning track. Curtis Granderson made the catch, hit the wall, and almost dropped the ball. It might have meant 3 runs to the Fish. Echeverria no swing, and it's 1-2. But Granderson held it, didn't hit the wall, and it didn't hit the ground.
Both outfielders, Granderson and Lagares in center, probably play as shallow as you're going to see.
Echeverria strikes out. And here comes Ichiro. Ichiro just a 3 for 16 start. He had a couple of starts in the absence of Christian Yelich. The last 2 ball games in Atlanta.
Which you hope a couple of games like that, you get settled a little bit better as a hitter, might help Ichiro as a pinch hitter.
Runs up to bunt, takes a strike, and it's a ball and a strike. Career numbers against the Mets, his 14th ball game. A lot of interleague matchups last couple years with the Yankees. Ichiro gets into that one, but yanks it foul.
Don't see him do that too often, but he got an off-speed hanger from Montero. You see him do it in batting practice.
Pitch runs away, and the count's full at 3-2. You've got D. Gordon, Christian Yelich to follow. You saw the lefty ready in the Mets pen. Jerry Blevins is ready, and probably for both Gordon and Yelich. Ichiro doing his best to keep this at bat going. Seeing a lot of time as a pinch hitter, something he certainly hasn't done a lot of in his career. It's the first time both in the major leagues and over in Japan that he's played on a National League type team. The 2 leagues in Japan, one in the DH league and 1 pitcher's hit. Ichiro played in the DH league in his 9 years over there. Three-2. Ichiro hits it to right center field, hits it pretty deep. Granderson back at the track. He won't get it. Bounces off the wall, and Ichiro is racing for third. On his way with a triple. Ball bounces off his back, and he'll hold there. A pinch hit triple for Ichiro, and the Marlins are in business. Here comes D. Gordon.
You almost had a feeling when he pulled that 1-ball foul, and then he fouled a couple of balls off the other way. If Montero made a mistake, and it looked like it was off speed, and if you're a pitcher and you're throwing to a guy who's not a home run hitter, an off-speed pitch allows him to do this, and Ichiro took advantage of it. I always say if you have a guy up there like a D. Gordon or an Ichiro, a changeup, you're actually, if you make a mistake with it, it's a bad mistake because he can do what he just did.
You speed the bat up.
Yeah.
West Kendall Toyota called to the bullpen. here's a look.
Boy, he hit this ball a long way, and for a moment you thought Granderson might catch up with it after the way he caught that ball that Real Muto hit. Straight on slide. The ball catches him on the shoulder, but stays in play.
Jerry Blevins in. So is the infield. Here's Gordon. Ichiro at third. Up the middle. Ichiro's coming home. The throw to the plate is wide. Ichiro dives, and he's out. Ichiro thought he hit the plate. This might get reviewed. Mike Redmond and the Marlins will take a look at it.
I think for a second Ichiro may have outthought himself because he saw the ball. He was going on contact and it was hit sharply. Murphy made a heck of a play, and so Ichiro put the brakes on, but the throw was wide. There he puts the brakes on because he thinks he's going to be out by 10 feet. Did he catch the plate with his hand? That's the question.
Well, the Marlins are trying to buy as much time as they can right now.
Well, I don't know if he got it.
Oh, did he get back to it? And I think the Marlins are going to challenge it. Not his first attempt. I don't know that he was tagged there. And I mean, if Darno comes back and
Darno didn't get him the first time, he may have gotten the plate.
Right. But why would Darno go try to tag him again if he didn't get him the first time?
That's right, a catcher's mistake. So that tells you he didn't get him.
All right, here's another look at it.
It's a good angle.
Well, you can't see if he hits him there. Ichiro,
he doesn't make the call. The umpire doesn't make the call yet.
Yes, he does.
Oh, he does. So I don't know if he got him the first time by the way he reacted. This is going to be an interesting decision. The unfortunate part is that Ichiro stopped because he thought he was going to be out by a mile and the throw was offline.
Well, they have a variety of views that they can watch. Watch this view and see if he tags him.
Oh, he doesn't tag him there.
I think he misses him there. I think Ichiro got his hand in. From that look, it looks like Ichiro's hand gets the plate, the back of the plate.
It's close there. Wow, this is a close play. The crowd on the giant screen is getting this look that we're just seeing here. Even the crowd can't react because they can't tell. Normally you'll hear the crowd go one way or the other.
All right, the biggest question is there enough evidence to overturn it? Watch this look and see if he tagged him. And no, he didn't tag him.
He doesn't tag him there.
So if Ichiro gets to the plate before the second tag, he's safe.
Right there. He does come back and tag him on the forearm, but at that time was his hand on the plate.
And you could see the umpire pointing at the first tag as if you got him on the first tag.
He didn't get him on the first one. We saw that clearly.
There's a lot of moving parts.
What an athletic, acrobatic play by a 41-year-old.
Now watch the umpire point to the first tag, which is not made.
He's saying right there that he got him on that first tag.
But of course, Darno goes after the second tag.
Yeah, the tough part, if they don't have conclusive evidence, it'll stand and the original call is out.
Regardless of if Darno went back for the second tag, feeling that he missed the first tag.
And they're taking a long time.
Well, they should. It's a big play.
They may have the guys come over from the command center here in New York.
Catch the 7 train. Well, Blevins is going to continue the throw. What's at stake here is the tying run. That beacon, new this year, syncs all of the cameras, whether they're Mets television, Marlins television, in-house cameras, or MLB cameras, so that the umpires in New York can sync them for multiple looks and multiple angles.
I mean, they're on headset, but they're also looking up at the scoreboard, at the replay.
I don't think either team really knows which way this is going to go. I don't have a good feeling which way this is going to go. Chrysler's getting their money's worth. Crowd's starting to get restless. The longer this goes, the more you think maybe it would go the Marlins' way.
Well, you know, the longer the jury's out, the more chance you have to be innocent, I guess.
Here's the side view again.
The bottom line, if they can see that that tag was missed, then the Marlins have a chance with Ichiro tagging the plate there. The interesting note on Ichiro, talked about him pinch hitting. That was his 48th pinch hit appearance. 48 at bat as a pinch hitter. His first extra base hit in a pinch hitting role.
d'Arnaud didn't hesitate. He went after him the second time.
He knows he missed him the first time.
He's safe, and the Marlins have tied the game. How about that?
You called it, Rich. You said the longer it goes, the more it leans toward the Marlins. Look at Ichiro. Finally can break down and smile a little bit.
With a Matrix-type slide.
Yeah, there aren't many 41-year-olds who can slide like that.
Now, the game resumes with a speedster at first in D. Gordon and a lefty on the mound. One out. Here's Yelich. And Blevins goes over. An enormous moment in the ball game. And again, I think the telling part of that was d'Arnaud going back for the second tag.
So it's an RBI on a fielder's choice for D. Gordon.
This has been a very entertaining ball game. From the long home runs to the play at the plate. Gordon was breaking back when Blevins came to the plate. Another look. D. Gordon from first. Blevins behind in the count, 2-0. Yelich hits a roller out towards short. One there. Murphy's turn. They got the double play, but the Marlins pick up a run after a lengthy challenge and review. Ichiro works his magic, and it's 5-5. To by Xfinity, your home for the most live sports. And by Lexus of Pembroke Pines. Price, service, selection. You're gonna love us. Ray's Pizza. We could use a slice right about now. Bottom of the 7th. Mike Dunn comes in to what has been a very entertaining ball game. The Marlins struck first in this one. Giancarlo Stanton, a record-setting home run, his 155th. Tops all time now in Marlin history, passing Dan Uggla. Martin Prado then homered. Miami had a 3-0 lead, and then Wilmer Flores, of all people, cranked a 3-run no-doubter against Jared Cozart, and it was on. Foul back. This is Flores right now. The Marlins would reclaim the lead in the 6th inning on a bases loaded walk, but then the Mets got 2 in the bottom half. Miami just tied it on that dramatic Ichiro slide and lengthy review, I might add, after Ichiro tripled in the gap in right center. And there's Flores. That reflects the 2-homer game and the 6 RBI game that he had last year.
Yeah, with the lefty Mike Dunn out there, John Mayberry Jr. goes into the on-deck circle to follow Flores. Tell you, it's been an exciting game, Rich. And all kinds of stuff happens.
A little bit of everything. The official score has given Daniel Murphy an error on the throw to the plate, I suspect.
Wow. It's a tough call because it was a tough play that he made the catch even on the hard ground ball.
Ozuna, wow, kind of lunged at that ball at the very end. The time of the delay was 5 minutes and 44 seconds. That for the review. The only longer review that you and I have been a part of was the 6+ minutes for the Zach Cozart play at the plate with the Reds and the Marlins. Stanton's throw and Mathis in that whole blocking the plate mess from last year.
Don't remind me.
Here is Mayberry, son of the former slugger.
And a guy we've seen the last few years with the Philadelphia Phillies.
6 years in that Phillies organization. Originally from Rockhurst, Kansas. His father starred for the Kansas City Royals in the 70s.
He's had a couple of big home runs in his time with the Phillies against the Marlins.
Did he have an extra inning walk-off grand slam?
Yes, he did.
Well, he's sitting right now on a 3-0 count. Granderson on deck. Mike Dunn walks him. So here comes Granderson. Whether it's a family celebration, networking event, fundraiser for your organization, you can arrange your next group outing at Marlins Park. Ask about the all-new food and beverage options, including VIP groups, all-you-can-eat seats, and the new Cleveland Sunday brunch. 1-877-MARLINS or go to marlins.com/groups. Granderson 0 for 3. Mayberry at first. He's running on the pitch, and the throw by Real Muto, safe.
Wow, that was close. Pretty good jump by Mayberry. You can't make a better throw than Real Muto just did. There's the jump. He's straight steal. The throw was right there, but he just beat it.
He didn't even get his wrist guard strapped down before taking off. And the Mets are right back in a good spot with a runner in scoring position. Mets 2 for 6 with runners in scoring position in this ball game. Granderson had that great spring training. An average over 400. Two and 1. 5-5 ball game, bottom 7. Done the second out of Miami's pen. AJ Ramos finished the 6th inning. Two and 2. Nobody throwing in Miami's bullpen, though I believe that's about to change.
Well, I tell you what, it didn't take the Nationals long to put away the Phillies. A 5-2 Washington win. Fister over Hamels, 2 hours and 16 minutes.
Sam Dyson. Breaking ball in. You got Darno and then Duda. Lost him. And Dunn is not sharp. He's walked 2. Darno comes to the plate.
So far this year for Mike Dunn, he's making his 5th appearance. He's been sharp. These are his first walks of the year. He came into this appearance, no walks and 7 strikeouts in a little over 4 innings.
Here's the issue for Mike Redmond here. If he tries to go matchup and brings Dyson in to face Darno, remember there's just 1 out. He would have Dyson in to face Duda. So would you rather have Darno against Dunn?
Yes.
Duda against Dyson? You'd rather take the first option.
I'd rather have Dunn against Darno and Dunn against Duda.
There you go. Well, to make that work out, Dunn has to throw strikes. Right now, Mike Dunn can't throw strikes. And Mike Redmond is sending Chuck Hernandez out.
Because I think, and this is the dilemma, Mike Redmond would prefer to have the scenario we talked about. He would prefer Dunn throwing to Duda.
Look at the ball strike ratio.
If the splits stay that same way, then he has to leave Dunn in to throw to Duda regardless of what happens here to Darno because of the matchup. Duda is improved this year against left-handers, better than he's been in the past, and he has some success against Mike Dunn.
5 for 15 is Duda against Dunn. What's that show on PBS radio? Is it All Things Considered? All Things Considered, it's Dunn against d'Arnaud. I guess it's National Public Radio. Two walks.
In order for Mike Dunn to get that double play ground ball, he has to get a strike in there.
2-0 pitch. Still hasn't thrown a strike to the Mets catcher. Three and 0. There's a strike.
Now, if you're Travis d'Arnaud, you know you're going to get about a mid-90s fastball, and you're going to look for it in a certain zone.
Three-one coming. Didn't get all of it, and Yelich is over to the line, and he makes the catch. And we'll see if that revives Mike Dunn. He comes back to throw a couple strikes. He gets it out. And now he's matched up against the lefty, but as you pointed out, Duda has success against Dunn and has swung it well against lefties this year.
Yeah, it's been a problem for Duda in the past, but hitting .429 against lefties this year, a small sample size. But I think sometimes just by coming back the way Mike Dunn did with the count 3-0 to throw a couple of strikes, then get an out even, I think rejuvenates you and gets you back in the game. I'm rejuvenated.
Lucas Duda, a nice night tonight. He's 2 for 3. Both hits doubles. Lefty on lefty. Mayberry out at second. Granderson at first. And a breaking ball for a strike.
There you go. That was the last thing Duda was expecting. A breaking ball on the first pitch. He's been on fire. He's had 3 consecutive games with multiple extra base hits.
And 1. 5-5. Bottom 7. Dunn to Duda. 0-2. Major League Baseball now sends a follow-up note on the review, and it confirms what we saw. They determined the catcher did not tag the runner on the initial attempt, and that the runner, Ichiro, got to the point of the plate before the second tag.
All that stretching paid off.
That's right. 0-2. And it's out. Lucas Duda is a big human. USC product, Southern California guy.
His home run he hit last night against the Phillies, 436 feet.
Breakout year last year, 30 home runs. 1-2. Fouls it back. JT Realmuto out to talk to Dunn.
Maybe talking about how Mike feels about a breaking ball, because Duda had a tremendous swing at that last fastball, just fouled it back. or they may be talking about location with a fastball. What Mike Dunn feels most comfortable with in this situation.
Ball and 2 strikes. Walks to Mayberry and Granderson. He fell behind Darno. Now he's out in front of Duda. 1-2. Down the third base line. Prado hits the tarp. Ball's 3 rows in.
Trying to maybe impersonate Nolan Arenado. You see that play?
It did. That was in San Francisco.
San Francisco. The Rockies third baseman, a Gold Glover last year. Just a tremendous play over the tarp. Similar to that.
Another 1-2 coming. This is a fun battle to watch. Dunn, who has refound his control just in this inning. And Duda, who is swinging a hot bat this year and tonight.
You think about it tonight, there have been a lot of really good one-on-one battles. Pitcher and hitter. Both sides.
Another 1-2. Fastball line center field. It is dropping for a hit. Mayberry scores. And the Mets are back on top 6-5. Lucas Duda having a big night.
Lucas Duda having a big start to this season. That's a nice battle against a left-handed pitcher. And this time Duda comes out on top. That ball drops just out of the reach of a diving Christian Yelich. But the bottom line, the walks have hurt the Marlins and Mike Dunn here.
Yeah, 2 walks and then a 2-out single. Michael Kadire, the hitter. Sam Dyson comes in. West Kendall Toyota called to the pen. And with 2 outs here in the 7th, Miami dips into the bullpen a little deeper. Sam Dyson, his 5th appearance in a game that's gone back and forth throughout the night.
Well, it has, and Sam Dyson does not have an easy assignment Michael Kadire singled his last time up, had a base hit and an RBI.
At the corners with 2 outs. And Kadire takes in. Kadire RBI single in the 6th. A 1-for-3 night. And a strike. Ball and a strike. He catches the corner. Terrific pitch.
And remember, too, we told you at the beginning of the game, the Mets have won 4 straight. That was their longest winning streak all of last year.
University of South Carolina product. Sam Dyson. Little tapper up the line, and Prado isn't going to get him. The Mets have another run. Just a little dribbler. Kadire has knocked in 2, and it's 7-5.
Yeah, do or die effort. Really not going to get Kadire. Martin Prado with the bare hand, but even a perfect throw wouldn't have gotten him.
Daniel Murphy now. Murphy 1-for-3. The Mets with 9 hits. And still 2 runners out there. Duda at second. Kadire now at first.
Talked about the Mets doing some little things well tonight. They're 4 for 9 with runners in scoring position.
They've moved runners up. They've taken the extra base. It's kind of the style that Terry Collins has always tried to implement here. He oftentimes hasn't had the personnel to do it. Slapped out towards short, and Chavarria on to first in time. And the Mets get into the Marlins bullpen, put 2 more on the board, lead at 7-5.
Early on, some long ball. That one by Giancarlo. First of the year, 155th of his career. He is the all-time home run leader in Marlins history. Martin Prado, his first home run as a Marlin. And just like that, the Marlins had a 3-0 lead. It was erased in a hurry. Wilmer Flores, a 3-run shot, tied the game just like that. Big play in the game. Play at the plate. Ichiro with the slide, gets the hand on the plate. It took almost 6 minutes to review, and the Marlins got the run. That tied the game, but the Mets added a couple in the bottom of the 7th inning and have a 7-5 lead.
And they've got a new arm on the mound. Carlos Torres misses down low. Giancarlo Stanton, Martin Prado, Michael Morse. It's a 2-run Met lead in the top of the 8th inning. Stanton hits a bullet into the corner, around first, on his way to second. He hits the hardest line drives I have ever seen. And I know you've been in the game longer than I have. I don't know if you've ever seen anything like it.
I have not. And right now, third baseman Eric Campbell is saying, probably kind of glad that ball was over my head, not right at me. He hits it so hard that it could have carried him back. If it carried him back just right to Kadire in left field, he would have had a play at second base.
Martin Prado now with Stanton at second. Prado takes a breaking ball for a strike. At the very least, if you're the Marlins, you want to get one back here until you don't go into the 9th down by 2. Morse is on deck. Prado knows that. He's 2 for 3, and he waves and a slider out.
A couple of good sliders. Remember, in the pinch hitting situation, John Mayberry stays in the game. There aren't a lot of moves that Terry Collins can make, but making the double switch there, keeping Mayberry a better defender in the outfield than Kadire.
He doesn't have a deep bench. Emergency swing. Prado stays alive. It stays 0-2. As you pointed out, just 4 men on that bench.
And one of those, a backup catcher, Anthony Recker. So you have Nieuwenhuis and Tejada.
Ruben Tejada. Prado's home run was over the Party City deck up into the seats in left center field. Bouncer to short. Stanton on his way to third. It's a good instinctive play by Giancarlo. The ball not hit hard enough, and Stanton moving on the contact is 90 feet away, and Morse with an opportunity to draw Miami within a run.
And you're right. You certainly would like to tie it, go ahead. But if you can't do that, if you can at least get one back, make it a 1-run game. There's been a lot of scoring. Each team has scored at least a run in the 6th and 7th innings. Mets have scored 2 in the 6th, 2 in the 7th. Marlins got 1 in the 6th, 1 in the 7th.
Strike to Morse. Infield's back. Morse's numbers this year, 7th inning on. He's 0 for 2 with a walk tonight. And Torres has got him 0-2. That's where he has stayed, on that outside part. Torres has been very good this year. Just 2 hits in 4 innings. Hasn't given up a run. He was used a lot last year. He led all major league relievers 92 innings in the dirt. Stanton a double, and he's at third with 1 out. Miami down 2 in the 8th. Morse hangs in there. Nationals beat the Phillies 5-2. Washington now 4-6. Philadelphia 3-7. Got him. Morse strikes out. Big strikeout for Carlos Torres. MLB.com ballpark app, perfect complement to your visit to Marlins Park. Maps of the ballpark and menus. You can order food from your seats and even access and display for your game tickets. Check in with the ballpark app and receive special offers and gifts. Marcell Ozuna struck out twice and then walked with the bases loaded.
Not been a good night. It's been a rough night for Marcell Ozuna. Had the throwing faux pas where he missed the cutoff man. Allowed a runner to move up an extra 90 feet.
Home plate umpire.
And it seems like every time he's been up, he's been behind 0-2.
Eric Cooper says swing, and he's behind 0-2. And he got him. Ozuna strikes out. Miami wastes the leadoff double by Giancarlo Stanton. And the Mets hang on to a 2-run lead. Check in with Jessica Blaylock. Jessica?
Well, Rich, it is obviously cool out here. Temperatures continue to drop. Giancarlo Stanton spent a pretty good amount of time in the dugout. He had a jacket around his hands. He kept rubbing them together, trying to warm them up. He was one of the last guys to take the field. So all the guys down here doing their best to stay warm as these temperatures continue to drop.
Hey, Jessica, as Eric Campbell stands in with Sam Dyson on the mound. And takes a strike. What was the dugout doing during that challenge of almost 6 minutes?
going up to Ichiro Suzuki. They were watching the replays just as intently as everyone else was. It seemed like they felt like it was going to go in the favor of Ichiro. Michael Morse walked up to him after watching one of the replays, gave him a high five. But there was a lot of confusion, obviously, watching those replays over and over. But it did seem like they had a pretty good feel in the dugout that it might go in the favor of Ichiro.
All right, nice job, and nice socks, by the way.
They do look very good, don't they?
She pulled the Tommy Hutton tonight. She didn't bring socks. Had to dip into the clubhouse. Very nice, and those are Marlins socks.
That is awful.
One thing, there are plenty of nice stores here in New York.
Campbell goes after pitch, drives it into the gap. Stanton is over and there, and he makes the catch. So Eric Campbell lines out to start the bottom of the 8th inning. Sam Dyson, JT Realmuto talking it over. Jared Cozart started, went 5 1/3 innings. Had a 3-0 lead, lost it with a 3-run homer to Wilmer Flores. Had a 4-3 lead and lost that as well. And for Cozart, his final line, 7 hits, 5 runs. Walking 5 strikeouts.
Then you saw a shot of their closer, Juris Familia, getting loose.
Juan Lagares taps it. A.J. Ramos, Mike Dunn, and Sam Dyson have followed. Right now, Dunn is on the hook for the loss if the Marlins fail to come back in the 9th. And Dyson strikes out Lagares. Dyson's made some nice pitches. Even the base hit that Kadire got was a swinging bunt up the third baseline.
Well, the veteran filing that one away, remembering all the line drives he hit for outs, probably.
Now Flores, who seems to save some of his biggest swings for the Marlins. We talked about his huge year last year. 2-homer game, 2 6 RBI games last year. One of them against Miami. And the 3-run homer here. His first homer, his first RBIs of 2015.
Though there was always some question as to his defense at shortstop. Never a question about his bat.
Stanton over there, and he makes the catch. Miami down to their last 3 outs, down a couple to the Mets. your South Florida Honda dealers. (7-5) Mets on top of the Marlins. It's the 9th. Temperatures continue to get closer to the lower 50s than the upper 50s. Jury's Familia is in.
Well, opponents hitting 188 against Familia. He's 3 for 3 in save situations. Good live arm, kind of a split changeup that he uses.
JT Realmuto for the Marlins. Danny Echeverria. Then the pitcher spot. And here is Familia.
Boy, think of the night that Realmuto has had. He had that bang-bang reviewable play at first base that he was just out. He had the tremendous catch by Granderson with bases loaded against the wall. It would have done a lot of damage.
Counts 2-0. So he's 0 for 3. He's had some good at bats. Right now the Marlins need him at first base. Two and one. A lot of sink at 95.
Now you can see the life on Familia's fastball at 196. The last one 95.
Reed Brignac is up. And Realmuto strikes out.
Just stayed with some pretty good heat that had movement.
Checkers presents Marlins Live postgame. What's coming up? Giancarlo Stanton's first inning home run is 155th. Now the all-time record for the Miami Marlins franchise. Echeverria takes a strike.
And Familia breaks out the slider.
One. And it's 1-2.
Rich, we talked about the Rays right-hander Chris Archer earlier. Remember, he matched up against Cozart in their outing in Miami. In Toronto, Archer 7 innings, 2 hits, no runs, struck out 11, and the Rays beat the Blue Jays 4-2.
Familia bounces that pitch up there. Echeverria stays alive. The Mets lost their regular closer twice to injury in spring training and then an 80-game suspension for violating performance-enhancing drug policy of Major League Baseball. Henry Mejia. 2-2. Echeverria hits it hard and down the line and foul.
Of course, a few years ago, it was going to be Bobby Parnell as their closer. But they've had some issues in that area, but they've made it work.
Echeverria trying to get aboard, battling at 2-2. And he lays off. Full count. Three-two coming, one out in the ninth. Bouncer to third. Campbell picks it. And gets the out at first. 2 down. Reed Brignac is all that stands between the Mets and win number 7 on the season.
Boy, Brignac hit a ball yesterday in that 9th inning against the Braves. He was robbed by his former teammate Johnny Gomes.
Oh, 0-1. D. Gordon is on deck. And then you've got Yelich. Miami down to the last strike now. It's 1-2. This 4-game series, a really nice early season preview of two teams that are expected to be better than they were last year. Brignac to left field. Mayberry is there, and the Mets in a seesaw ball game take game 1 of the 4-game series 7-5. Jury's Familia closes and gets the save. And for the Mets, this nice start continues. For the first time since May of 2013, the New York Mets have won 5 straight baseball games. They are 7-3.